So for the beef lasagna, I'm going to make the meat sauce first, and I'm going to go through the steps of the recipe. So the first step is to heat the oven to either 190 degrees Celsius or gas mark 5. Step 2, collect the ingredients. I've got vegetables in a colander, so I've got my onion and my carrot. Chopped tomatoes, tomato puree, vegetable stock, mixed herbs and garlic salt is in the measuring jug. So I'm going to go on to step 3, where I have to wash, peel and re-wash the carrots. And I'm going to grate that into small pieces rather than chop. So I've washed the carrot and I'm going to peel it, and remember, peelings go into your colander or into a little waste bowl, not all over your chopping board, because you want your chopping board to be kept nice and clean. So I'm just peeling the carrot like that. So I'm going to re-wash this carrot now. So I've re-washed the carrot and I've patted it dry with a paper towel. The peelings I've put into the food bin, and I'm going to grate the carrot. So I'm going to just chop off one end of the carrot with my chef's knife, and that can go into my food waste. I've got my grater here, and I'm going to grate using the rough side of the grater, this one here. So I'm just going to keep this end on because I'm going to grate, I need to use this to hold it. Okay, so I'm going to grate the carrot. So that is me just about come to this last little bit. I don't want to hurt my fingers, and I'm just going to put that into the food waste there. Now, I'm going to scrape all of that out of the, get all that carrot. Don't want to waste any of the carrot. Scrape it all out. I'm going to put the grater to the side because I don't need that, so I'll put it to the side to be washed. Now, in the recipe, it states that we need 50 grams of carrot, so I'm going to reweigh this to only use 50 grams. The rest of it could be put in a wee bag and frozen to be used at another time. Okay, so the next step is to peel the onion. I always find it easiest to use a vegetable knife and half the onion first, always through the roots. And again, peelings into your colander or little waste bowl so that we can then put the peelings into our food waste bin. So the recipe tells us to finely chop the onion. So we need to keep the root part on, but we can chop the tip off. So I use my vegetable knife just to drag that across to take the tip off. I'll do the same for the other side. Okay, so now I'm going to turn the onion to face, so the root's facing away and the lines are in the same direction as the knife. Now you don't curve your knife and you don't have to follow the lines exactly, but you need to go in the same direction. So we're going to use our claw position, thumb here, fingers on top, and I'm going to use a vegetable knife at this stage to cut through the onion. Once I get about halfway, I'm going to change my hand position to the bridge, and I'm going to keep cutting through. Now I've done all those lines, I'm now going to turn the onion to the side, and I'm going to use the chef's knife, claw position, and I'm just going to use that rocking action and see how finely chopped the onion is, because you've cut all those lines in. Okay. Now, once you get you'll have about a quarter left, and it might look something like this. What to do is tip it onto its sides, and then hold it like this, and then just chop into the sides around like that. You've got that little bit left over that can go in your food waste, and this bit you can just kind of chop it up a wee bit more to get it nice and fine. Okay. Okay, so I'll just go over that again. Claw position. Use your vegetable knife to cut through. So I'm cutting right through onto the board, but I'm not cutting that root off. Change to bridge position. Keep that onion nice and tight. Turn it to the side. Claw position. So again, the recipe states that we only need 50 grams of onion. So I'm going to weigh that on the scales next to the carrot. The carrot and the onion go into the meat sauce at the same time, so it's okay to have these kind of side by side like that. Step 5 in the recipe is to brown the mince first, and then add the onion and carrot and cook that for about a minute. So in the pot, we put the mince straight in the pot. That's to prevent any cross-contamination. So it's best to collect it straight into the pot. You don't need to add any oil or anything when you're using anything like mince, because there should be enough fat in the mince. You don't need to add any more, but make sure that you keep moving it around so that it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pot, and don't have the temperature up too high for the whole time, because you want to kind of release the fat from the mince. So we'll keep doing this until it's completely browned. I'm going to turn the heat up slightly. You can see that it's browning and it's all breaking up as well. It's not in big lumps anymore. So we're almost there for it to be completely browned. And you can see, should be able to see that there's some fat being released, and that is going to help to cook the onion and the carrot when we add that. Okay, so So that is it, all browned. You can see it's completely browned and all broken up. So now we're going to add our onion and our carrots together. Now it says in the recipe to cook for about a minute. And we want it to be, the vegetables to be quite soft. If you're doing this at home and you've got a bit more time, you might want to cook off the vegetables for a wee bit longer than a minute. So adding those vegetables has probably cooled down the pot a wee bit. So I'm going to turn the heat up so that I can definitely hear that sizzle. Now I don't want it to be too high that it's going to burn. The meat stick to the pot, but I want to hear that sizzle because I know that it's cooking. So I've got it at kind of medium to high temperature at the moment. And I have to use my judgment to see if I should keep it at that temperature or maybe turn it up or turn it down. If it does start to burn or stick, adjust the temperature, turn it down, or if it's burning a lot, just remove it from the heat for a minute, just until it cools down a wee bit. So you would just slide it over to the side if you thought it was getting too hot. So step 6 in the recipe book tells us to add the contents of the measuring jug, bring to the boil and let it simmer for about 20 minutes. So I've added the contents of the measuring jug and I've given it a good stir. And we want it to come to the boil, and then we'll turn the heat down to a simmer. So there it's bubbling away, and I know that it's come to the boil. It's bubbling away, give it another wee stir. Make sure you've got enough liquid there. It looks like a nice sauce. And I'm going to turn it down to a low temperature. So it's much more gentle bubbles, and I'm going to keep the lid on. So now I'm going to make the cheese sauce for the lasagna, and this is on step 9. So it's heating the margarine and the flour gently until you have a paste. So like it says, just heat it gently, not too high a heat. Maybe medium to begin with and then a wee bit lower. So just start mixing this together and you should have a paste. And just turn the heat down a wee bit because I'm seeing that's bubbling. So I'm turning that heat down. I'm just making sure the flour and the margarine are cooked through. And you can see I've got a paste. Yours might look a wee bit thicker than this. I've used corn flour here rather than plain flour, so if you use plain flour it might look a wee bit thicker than this, but they both do the same job. I'm now going to start to gradually stir in the milk and keep stirring so that I don't get any lumps. So I'm going to turn it down to the lowest heat because I don't want it to burn and thicken. And I'm going to add quite a good amount of the milk. If we add too little, it will just become really lumpy. And I'm going to stir that through and make sure I have no lumps. Make sure I go right into the corners of my pot and round the sides. And it's the flour that's going to thicken this sauce, because flour contains starch, which upon heating will burst and thicken the sauce. Just make sure that there's no lumps at all. See, I've got no lumps here. Just make sure everything's off that spoon as well. No lumps. And I'm going to add some more milk. And I'm going to gradually increase the heat, but keep stirring. There's lots of different ways that you can make a white sauce or a cheese sauce like this. And this is just one way of making the sauce. And we'll look at other ways of making a white sauce in other recipes. Keep stirring, no lumps. I'm going to add the last of the milk. And when I'm stirring, I'm holding on to the pot handle with one hand and stirring well with the other. I'm really getting into the corners of the pot and making sure I'm stirring along the bottom of the pot. It's really important so that nothing sticks to the bottom of the pot. And what we're looking for is the consistency like custard. It should coat, the sauce should coat the wooden spoon. Now at this stage I can actually see and I can feel that the sauce is starting to get thicker and change consistency. So I'm going to turn the heat down low so it doesn't get too thick. And you can see there that it's now coating the spoon and it's become really thick quite quickly. So I'm going to turn the heat off. And that's my sauce ready for the cheese to be added. So I'm going to take this. Okay, so now I've taken my sauce off the heat, got it on a pot stand, and only now I'm going to add the cheese. So I'm going to add most of the cheese. It should just melt through. And I'm going to leave some of the cheese so that I can sprinkle it over the top. And at this point now, you can season and taste your sauce to check that it's got the right seasoning. So you need a little spoon to taste your sauce. Remember, once you've tasted it using the spoon, you can't put it back in to taste again, so it's really important. So I'm going to add a wee bit of salt and pepper. And then taste a little, make sure it's not too hot, to check that the seasoning's good. So now I'm going to begin to layer up my lasagna ready to go in the oven. So we've got our bolognese meat sauce here. So that's been cooking for at least 20 minutes, preferably longer if you can. I like to cook it as long as possible to make the meat nice and tender. I've got my cheese sauce ready. I've got my dried lasagna sheets here ready as well. Now, for this, you would normally have one of the larger foil containers to be able to take this away, or you can use a lasagna dish. I've only got the small ones here, so I'm going to divide this mixture between the two small containers. So I'm going to put a layer of the meat sauce at the bottom first. Spread that out. And because I'm using a smaller container, I'm going to have to break the lasagna sheets, which is fine. So just snap that and put the lasagna sheet on top. Now I'm going to put a wee bit of the cheese sauce on top here. So the recipe says to put a layer of cheese sauce, which I always think is nice to have the cheese sauce going through the lasagna, not just on top. Now I'm going to put another layer of meat sauce on top here, spreading it out. Then another lasagna sheet, snap that a wee bit. There's a few wee bits here just to make that up. And then a final layer of our cheese sauce. Okay, so make sure the pasta sheets are definitely covered so that they cook. And then you can sprinkle a bit of your extra cheese on top. So now these are ready to go in the oven. They'll take between about 15 to maybe 25 minutes to cook in the oven. The way to test for readiness is if you can pierce a fork or a knife through and the lasagna sheets are nice and soft and the appearance will be nice and golden brown, that cheese will have melted and it'll look really appetising. So that's the lasagna out of the oven, and just to test that it's ready, I'm going to put a knife through, and if it goes through easily through the pasta sheets, then you know that it's ready. If you felt it needed a bit longer but the top was starting to brown, you could just put a bit of foil over the top and pop it into the oven.